Hello. Okay. Video number 2. It's Andromeda. How are you? Okay, so today, let me move this out of the way. You guys, this is still a work in progress, so we're working on this together, okay? Bear with me. So I put up my first video, really happy with it, really happy with the direction that it went, and want to come on here again today to talk to you about something that I think is so important and so overlooked. We always talk about mind, we talk about body, we talk about spirit. One thing we don't talk about so often is those that came before us. That's right. Today I want to talk to you about generational blessing and generational trauma and how these things show up in our being and show up in our lives and possibly shape our lives and the lives of those around us. So what is the generational blessing? What is the generational trauma? Basically, both of these touch upon the fact that we do not move through this world alone. We do not move through this world as an individual. I know that in Western society, we live in a very individualistic society. We think that we are a complete unit and we move through life as one person determined to create our own destiny. But that's not reality. We don't move through life alone. We move through life as the accumulation of all those who came before us. We draw strength upon those who came before us. And sometimes those who came before us can have a negative effect on who we are and how we show up in the world. So the generational blessing is just what it sounds like. It is this idea that our family members, whether it be a mother, a father, a grandfather, an uncle, a great-great-grandmother, their intentions and how they live their life and the energy that they give to us affects us. It affects our being. It affects our mind. It affects our body. It affects our spirit. And if we come from loving people who wanted the best for us, who hopefully live life the right way and in a good way, then we will inherit some of their good spirit. We will reap some of the residual blessings that they received in their life. The opposite is also true. We can inherit what I call spiritual residue from those who came before us. Whether you had a grandmother who had a drinking problem, or a mother who had low self-esteem. These things can also show up in our lives. These things can also affect us really profoundly. And what I think is so interesting is that we don't even have to know these people. We need never have met them for us to have an impact on us. I never met my great-great-grandmother, but I have no doubt that she has profoundly affected my life. And this shows up in so many ways. It shows up in the Bible, okay? Let's talk about the blessing. What did Jacob do before he died? He passed down his blessing to his sons and to Joseph's sons, to his grandchildren. He set an intention in his life before he died that benefited them and generations thereafter. Okay? So we see it in the Bible. Guess what? We also see it in science. It's called epigenetics. Google it. Epigenetics. I'm going to give you an example. Scientists, they performed a study on rats, wherein they exposed the rats to the sweet smell of fruit. Okay? A delicious smell, which rats normally love. But every time the rats smelled this sweet fruit, they gave them an electric shock, a sense of pain. And eventually, as you would expect, whenever the rats smelled this sweet fruit, they ran away. They became anxious. They didn't like it. Okay? And that you would expect, because rats are smart, right? They smell the sweet fruit. They know something bad is coming. So they avoid it. What's really interesting is that the offspring of these rats and their offspring also had an aversion to the sweet smell of fruit, even though they had never received the same electric shock that their parent and grandparent rat received. They call it epigenetics, this idea that the experiences of our relatives can be inherited by us and affect us. It can affect us positively, it can affect us negatively. The realm of epigenetics is particularly now being studied in the context of addiction, right? Depression, mental illness. Me being a Black person, what comes to mind is the legacy of slavery and the 500 years of trauma that many of my ancestors likely endured. Does that affect me today? I can't necessarily pinpoint how it does, but I'm sure that it does have an impact. And that's not to say that we need to, mope around and say that, our life isn't ours, but I do think that it is important to acknowledge that sometimes when we're going through something or when we're struggling or things just aren't working right, sometimes we just have to take a deep breath, okay? Clear our minds and think, okay, am I really feeling this? Is there something deeper going on here? And if there is, it's not time to mourn, because I do believe that we are each the creators of our own destiny. And just as a negative circumstance or a negative choice caused our ancestors to pass down something negative to us, I believe that by us having a positive mindset and by making positive choices and by living life the right way and hopefully trauma-free, we can pass down a good inheritance to our children, what the Bible calls the blessing. So I'm going to speak a little bit more about this, but I think that this was a good introduction to the blessing, the inheritance, epigenetics, spiritual residue, and something that's so important if you are on a mind, body, spirit journey. Okay, I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.